This episode is brought to you by Big Brand Energy Live, my signature full day experience for ambitious women who are ready to stop thinking about their next level and start moving like they belong there. Last October, I hosted a much smaller version of this event, and in the months that followed, women from that room went on to launch retreats in the south of France, book major speaking gigs, secure announcing roles, hire full time staff, and even hit their first $1 million year. That's what happens when you get into the right room. Big Brand Energy Live is happening June 11th, 2026 in Surrey, British Columbia, Canada, and tickets are officially on sale with the event almost 50% sold out. If you know you're meant for more visibility, more authority, and bigger opportunities, this room was created for you. Grab your ticket now at the link in the show notes. Use code FAMEREADY to save $50 off your ticket, and I'll see you in June. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Fame Ready, the podcast to show you that anything is possible. Yes, including fame. Big Brand Energy Live is the room to show you that anything is possible. And this is, just the philosophy that is really keeping me sane and stable during all of the uncertainty and wild things that are happening in the world right now. And I think more than ever, we really need to be thinking about multiple revenue streams, what it looks like to expand our products, our service, our personal brand into different areas that we may have not even considered before. So, we're going to do something a little bit different on this episode. I'm going to talk about something that I haven't talked about yet, which really is this idea of product based business owners, retailers, brick and mortar shop owners. Guess what? You also are building brands, you have personal brands. And I think a lot of the time we overlook a lot of personal brand strategy when we are in these roles because we think, oh, personal branding, I don't sell a service. My product sells itself. But there are other ways to make sure we're diversifying our income, setting up different revenue streams so that we are building businesses that can withstand economic shifts. So we can, really, really make sure that we're giving ourselves the best chance possible to be financially stable, to be growing profitable, secure businesses. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. It's going to be a little bit technical. It's going to be highly strategic, and you're going to hear about some ways to grow your income that I haven't talked about on this podcast before. So I really hope you like it. Yeah, you've got to share this one. You've got to share this one with your favorite product-based business owner, all of your friends that host a brick or not host. Well, I guess they host, but who have and run brick and mortar locations, whether those are boutiques, hair salons, yoga studios, co-working spaces. There is so much opportunity to diversify. And when we think about me, I'm always about building our famous personal brand and being fame ready. So, one of the things I want you to think about as we kind of move through this episode is this idea of these celebrity founded brands. The one that comes to mind is Skims by Kim Kardashian. And I was recently on someone else's podcast where I made this reference to, and I'm always like, think about her what you will, but she is an incredible businesswoman. And she is someone who does diversified revenue streams very, very well, right? She has a strong personal brand, but at the same time, she also has Skims, which is her clothing line. She had her skincare line, Skin by Kim, or do we pronounce it like Skakin because there were two Ks? Not sure. I don't think it's around anymore, but she had that. She had like Kimoji at some point. She is acting in movies and TV shows. She is obviously still her own personal brand, so doing different brand partnerships, modeling, things like that. Like, she is the queen of diversified revenue streams. And the reason why she's been able to grow these is actually because of her personal brand, right? Like, she started as Kim Kardashian. We all know like what she was known for back in the early days of her becoming famous, rising to fame. And I'm not saying that everyone should go down that road in particular, but she is just someone that we can all kind of look to for inspiration and really building an empire off the back of your personal brand, which you know me, that's what I'm all about. Okay. So obviously for service-based business owners, this looks a little bit different. So when we're a service-based business owner, we are, marketing things that are generally like invisible. Okay. So we are selling services that offer a transformation or an outcome, and people buy into that based on our client testimonials. They buy into that based on, maybe the transformation we've had ourselves. I think this is something that I can like really, really use my personal brand as a great example for. A lot of the reasons why people work with me is because of my own transformation. I mean, let's not forget all of the incredible client results that, my clients have achieved when going through my programs or having my support. But more often than not, one of the main reasons why someone chooses to work with me is because of my own transformation and how I really turned my life and my business into a whole new world of possibility for myself, really. And that's great for service providers. So if you're a product-based business owner, you might be wondering, well, how can I start to really embrace, the security, the stability that comes from multiple revenue streams? Because I'll be so honest, you guys, like product alone, it's not enough, right? So whether you own a hair care line, skincare, wellness brands, clothing, food and beverage, whatever it is, candle companies, home decor, we can go on and on, right? Even like authors selling books. There is so much market saturation. Competition has never been higher, which if you've been listening to this podcast long enough, you'll know that for me, competition doesn't really faze me. I think anyone can get really, really good at differentiation, talking about why they're different, motivate people to buy based on their differentiation. But that too can start to, test the boundaries, especially when we're competing with brands like Temu and Shein, who are just like really ripping off a lot of the great quality products that creators, makers are making. So unfortunately, product is not enough these days. And even with this, we see this saturation in the market, but then it's also costing more to create products, especially with tariffs and everything going on in the political climate. And that's why it's so important for me to do this episode today, because I think that there's a lot of tensions happening in this world. And, a really good friend of mine, she's in the mentorship program that I'm also in. She owns like a hand-dyed yarn company that has done really, really well. Canadian based. I'll just shout it out. Sunday Fiber Co. And it is booming, and her business is doing so well. And we had a mentorship call yesterday where I will be honest, I had like a full existential crisis. Like, how can I be running this business that feels so fun and exciting when the world feels a little bit gloom and doom? And Elise reminded me, like, she's like, my business is doing so well because it gives people a reprieve. It gives people a break from the like doom and gloom of the outside world. And I love that. And that just shows how important it is for you to like keep forging forward in whatever you're creating. But that's why it's so important to also make sure that you're diversifying the distribution of your product. How can you get it in front of more eyes, right? So as a product-based business owner in particular, you've probably seen different different influencers that you could use to push your product. You can use different, distribution methods, like maybe putting your product in different boutiques or storefronts. You can try to launch your product in different countries and, work with what shipping looks like and try to make that feasible for whoever's buying within that particular country. Because obviously now, like, free shipping between Canada and the US, like that has kind of gone to the wayside, unfortunately, with everything that's happened. So that's why creating a really, really good product, regardless of how well you market it, it's just not enough anymore. And that's why I'm passionate about personal branding. And this brings me back to the Kim Kardashian example. As a product-based business owner, as a brick-and-mortar storefront owner, people are going to be drawn to you and want to support you. So don't forget about you and your voice and showing your face so people can actually buy into having this relationship with you as the founder. Because honestly, I'm willing to bet that that's why a lot of people choose to support different business owners. And actually, Sunday Fiber Co. Elise does this really well. She does a really great job of integrating her as a person, a human, her story into the marketing efforts of Sunday Fiber Co. And that's probably why she's built such a dedicated following, audience base, consumer base. So go check her out because she's a really great example. Okay. So when we talk about public relations, we talk about owned and earned media, right? So when I talk about PR for personal brands, we have owned media, which is anywhere where you control the final message. Okay. So you have your email list, your social media platforms, your website, Substack, blog, your podcast. Your owned media channels are anywhere where you get the final say on like what the message is, and maybe you don't get control over how many people it reaches, but you get control over where you're pushing out that message. So in some ways you are. Like, for example, if I only want to like give my email list exclusive access to something, and I'm choosing to only share it with my email list and not necessarily like my wider community. So that's an example of owned media. It's the most important piece of media to your personal brand, but also your product-based business, okay? But when we talk about PR for personal brands, we also have earned media. So earned media is anything that requires like a third party saying yes to you. So this is like magazine features, events, it's like going on someone else's podcast, it's brand partnerships, it's going on TV, anywhere where there's a gatekeeper who not only decides whether or not like that collaboration or interview or partnership moves forward, but also decides what the final message is. That's called earned media. And a really great example of this, a good friend of mine told me recently that she was disappointed in like a media feature that she received because she really wanted the story to be about a particular angle that's like very, very prominent in her business that would really help push her business forward and increase the authority and all of that. And when the article came out, the angle was entirely different. And when I saw her last week, she told me that she was disappointed. And I was like, that's the problem with earned media. You never know what the final story is going to be. And oftentimes journalists are going to kind of mold it to fit whatever narrative they feel like is most interesting. And so that's the caveat. But if you're a product-based business owner, there's another kind of earned media that you need to be thinking of. So we call this earned distribution. Okay. So this is like retail partnerships, it's wholesale, it's third-party platforms. And there's a really cool like parallel here, right? Because when we use earned media to grow in terms of PR, that's when you really see like exponential growth. Like the reason why my personal brand has grown so much over the last however many months is because I'm constantly investing in PR activities. I'm in media features. I'm doing podcast interviews. I am speaking on stages. I'm highly invested in my earned media. And that's because growth happens when visibility expands beyond your owned media channels. Because at some point, you need to reach new audiences, and the algorithm isn't always helpful. and you need to build authority, maybe by being featured in different places, you can increase your prices. And the same goes for product-based business owners, right? Growth happens when your product isn't just selling from your website and your social media anymore. Real growth happens when you start to pick up additional distribution. Maybe you're featured in different boutiques across the country. Your inventory is part of your brand, right? So like where you are placed, your earned distribution is just as important as if you were a personal brand getting placed on different stages. So that's a really important takeaway that I want you to think about, because we talk about this owned versus earned media, but then like owned versus earned distribution is a really, really interesting way to think about this also. Today's episode is brought to you by Megan Buggy, meta ads and funnel strategist, and author of the upcoming book, This Is Why Your Ads Suck. If you've ever opened Ads Manager, seen disappointing results, and thought, I have no idea what's actually wrong, this book is for you. Megan shows online business owners how to stop guessing, stop blaming the algorithm, and start reading their numbers like a real CEO. Inside the book, you'll learn how to spot the real leaks in your marketing, whether it's your hook, your ad copy, your landing page, or your funnel, and what to fix. If you're ready for ads that feel human, aligned with your values, and actually convert, head to youradbestie.com/early access to grab your copy of This Is Why Your Ads Suck when it launches so soon. That link is in the show notes. And thanks so much, Megan, for being a great supporter of the show. Because here's the thing, owned media and earned media creates brand authority. Okay. So earned media, this idea that like a third party is validating you, the fact that they are, telling your audience and their audience that, this person is legit. You should trust them. That's what earned media does. It builds brand authority. It builds trust. Getting tongue tied. It builds credibility. And that's something that I think we forget. So one really, really important takeaway, regardless of what kind of business you own, you cannot create brand authority yourself. And that's what people forget. Okay. So you, as a personal brand, a product-based business owner, just business owner generally, authority is created when a third party endorses you. So client testimonials can do this because they're a third party, but it's media features, stages, brand partners that actually really give you that big boost that allows you to charge more for your service offering. It allows you to charge for speaking. And when we contrast this with like product marketing, distribution also creates authority, right? So like when you're a product-based business owner and now your product is getting placed in all of these different stores, that increases your perceived legitimacy, right? Because now if people are seeing your product placed in different boutiques, or, even if you can start sharing the story on social media of like, my business, my product is now available in, this many provinces or this many states or this many countries, that increases how people perceive you as a product-based business. Okay. You're no longer just like sharing, selling your product on Etsy. You're selling it in ways that we would kind of imagine are designed for like bigger brands. But all of these like kind of new distribution channels are more available to you than ever before. So for retailers, okay, so that's really great for like product-based business owners. So if you're someone who, if you're like my friend Elise, Sunday Fiber Co., and you have a yarn company, the more places that she distributes that yarn to, yeah, her visibility increases, but it also gives her an amazing opportunity to talk about how her company is growing and all of the different ways that people can access it and buy from her. So that's product-based business owners. And let me just switch over to retailers for a second, because say you're someone who owns like a brick and mortar store and you're like, okay, I really want to make sure when people come to my boutique that they have access to a wide variety of like locally made goods. This is how you're going to differentiate yourself, right? Like there are so many cute little boutiques that I feel like aren't really strong in differentiation. But if you can get really clear on like the type of inventory that you stock, so let's just talk about some examples. Like maybe you are a boutique that focuses on like women owned brands. Okay. That's great differentiation. Or maybe it's like brands that are offer a certain level of sustainability in their process, so they're environmentally friendly. Those are some really cool ways to differentiate yourself. The thing for you is figuring out, okay, well, how do I find more product and different product, right? Because as soon as you can offer a different kind of product that maybe isn't available at the other 4 boutiques that are in your neighborhood, now you're going to have a reason for people to come to you. And what's really cool right now, I know during COVID, we saw all of the buying behavior shift to be more online based. And obviously, I'm a big online shopper, but the word, I haven't used this word yet, but I'm going to do it for the first time on this podcast, the analog of it all, people wanting to like go out into the real world. I really believe this is why Big Brand Energy Live is already 50% sold out. It's because people want to have in-person experiences. And I think we're seeing that with shopping too. So if you can create inventory, if you can receive inventory that really differentiates you from everyone else, now you've become a destination. And I'm going to give you an example that I like really, really love in the golf industry in particular, because as someone who plays a lot of golf and as someone who has been involved in the golf industry for my entire adult life, the pro shops kind of kill me. So for all of you that are not like golf gals, pro shops are like the store that's attached to the golf club. So like if you're going golfing and you go to like a nice golf course, they'll have a pro shop where you can buy like balls, clubs, anything you really need to be able to play the game of golf, and they'll also typically stock clothing. And the problem that I have seen for my entire adult life and my entire golf career is that the women's clothing freaking sucks. Okay. It's like not designed for like the millennial woman. It's not trendy. It's not cute. And it's such a shame because now there are so many really cute golf brands out there. So I really believe that the pro shops and even like the golf clubs generally that are standing apart and like seeing an increase in, sales in their pro shops are the ones that are making an effort to like appeal to a female demographic and like a young female demographic. And like if you look at all of the statistics, women's golf is on the rise, especially among young women. So that's a really important thing to consider too. Last year, Gabriel and I were in Mexico when we played a round of golf, and the pro shop at this very prestigious golf course was, I would say, like 75% there. But what was crazy is the actual like golf shirts that I liked, because Gabriel and I were both like, okay, we'll treat ourselves. We'll each buy like a new like polo, which has like all of the golf club branding on it. So I ended up buying like a child's polo, like a youth large polo, because even still, like the women's clothing wasn't quite right. Like, I'm like, I'm going to buy this like youth polo instead because I think it's cooler than like what they're offering from like a women's golf perspective. So imagine for all my like golf pros, golf course GMs listening to this podcast, I'm sure there's a handful of you based on my previous career. Think about how you can start to bring in other product that actually appeals to like this really growing demographic. Because if you can be the golf club that's offering this like wider selection of clothing for an entirely different demographic, that's a really cool way to differentiate yourself, right? So there's a flip side to this as well. Okay. So like obviously when you're a retailer and you are carrying all of this product and maybe you carry like a product or a brand that no one else does, like that increases your authority. But now let's flip it, because think about this. Say you're a product-based business owner, like the idea of this golf club carrying your product, I'm thinking about a couple women's golf brands that are Canadian and growing and like so awesome. Like in my head, I'm like, God, if they could get their products carried in some of the local golf shops like across the country, that would do so much for their perceived legitimacy. That would elevate their brand authority, right? And that's what really would increase their momentum as well. So that's really how I see it, you guys. I think we're at a point in time now when we really can't afford to sit back and just like not be strategic with how we distribute our products, our services, our brand. We must be trying to create as many revenue streams as possible for ourselves. And that's why I'm really excited to be partnered with Fair. Fair is a platform that helps retailers discover differentiated inventory, and it really supports brands in expanding visibility globally. Okay. So I want you to tell you just a little bit more about this platform, because if you're a product-based business owner, or even if you're a retailer and you've been listening to this episode, you are really going to benefit from learning more about Fair and getting on the platform yourself. Okay. Because Fair is all about expansion. And, that's something that I love so much too. But what we talked about today, right, is your brand, whether it's your personal brand, your product, your storefront, this perception is really shaped by what people associate with you. And so for retailers, all of my storefront owners hearing this, that's like what's on your shelves. Finding unique products that your customers won't see in big box stores takes time. Sourcing is exhausting, and tying up your cash flow and new inventory also risky. And so when it comes to a platform like Fair is the largest online wholesale marketplace that connects hundreds of thousands of brands and retailers around the world. So it makes discovering unique products simple, and it makes testing inventory far less stressful. So retailers actually get net 60 payment terms, which means you can sell your inventory before you even have to pay for it. And they also offer free returns on first orders, which means you can like try new brands without worrying if it's going to be a fit or not. So when you get on the platform Fair, you're exposed to all of these amazing new products, new brands, so many that I'm sure you haven't heard of before. And once you get on that platform, you can start to test. So you can take a look through their inventory and order different brands to try with confidence. So if you're a brand listening, Fair also helps your products get discovered by retailers without endless cold pitching, because, we hate a cold pitch on this show. So if growing your shop, differentiating your inventory, and strengthening your brand reputation is part of your next level strategy, I highly recommend that you check out Fair. So if you're a retailer and you haven't placed an order through Fair before, you can find the link in the show notes and use code Katrina10 for 10% off your first order. Okay. And that really is like such a great way to take everything that we talked about in this episode and really start to bring it to life, really start to set up these new revenue streams, set up earned distribution, and really start to take your business to the next level. So obviously, one of these great actionable takeaways is to get on Fair, right? But if you're a founder of a product-based business or a brick-and-mortar store right now, some of the other things I want you to take away from this episode is position yourself as the face behind the product, okay? Start showing up on social media, start writing emails that come directly from you and your voice so they feel more personal. They're not just a marketing email. And obviously, start thinking about what it looks like to expand beyond your owned channels, right? Start to explore earned distribution and even earned media. And if you're a retailer, audit whether your inventory actually reflects your brand identity. So if you're someone that owns a brick and mortar shop, maybe you have a hair salon, maybe you have like a med spa and you sell products, I want you to take a good hard look at all of your inventory and decide whether or not it actually reflects the brand that you want to put out into this world. Because much like a personal brand who earns authority through affiliation, whether that's with brands, events, collaborators, as a product-based business owner, as a brick and mortar store owner, you're also playing with your authority depending on what kind of brands you're stocking. So if you want to increase your authority, I highly recommend really leaning into curating what the products you sell look like. And obviously, this opens up new revenue streams for you as well, because now you get to sell different products. This is really good too if you're like a home-based salon or home-based wellness medi spa, because now you're offering your clients more ways to increase your bottom line. Okay. And you can use platforms like Fair to test and expand this, right? Without taking on the risk, which is why I love them so much. So remember, if you're listening to this podcast, I know that you're out there believing that anything is possible, right? Even though times are feeling a little bit what did we say during COVID? Unprecedented times. It still feels like we're living in unprecedented times. So as we navigate what this looks like, ensure you're setting your business up for success. So whether you're a personal brand, a product-based business owner, a brick-and-mortar store, the more revenue streams, the more distribution channels that you can bring into your business, the more safe, secure, and steady you're going to hold through these unprecedented times. So remember, if you're a retailer who hasn't placed your first order through Fair yet, feel free to use code Katrina10 at the link in the show notes to get started over there. Please rate and review this podcast if you loved it as much as I did. You can find me at Katrina Owens PR on Instagram. I'm Katrina Owens on LinkedIn, and I'll see you all next week. Okay. Toodles.